Hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritual Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of January 5th to January 11th. Now, before we get started on anything, I want to be absolutely clear with what we are going into this week. The human effect is the biggest player because the human effect is indicating that there is going to be a difference with how these transits line out for everybody. Everybody's going to see something. Everybody's going to feel something. Everybody's going to go through something. But the human effect is that there's going to be variations. Some people will have more benefits to this week. Some people will have more discoveries to this week. Some people will have more direction and drive and determination and focus. Some people will learn things that are unnerving. Some people will discover and connect to people that you didn't even realize you were looking for. There is very big variations to the things that come to light this week. Notice how I said that? To the things that come to light. We have two planets making their exact conjunctions to the sun. Now, I've already been harping on them for a while. The first one will be Venus. This is how we start the week. By the end of the week, we will have Mars hit a conjunction to the sun. And this is not even all of it. This is just like one little wave of what we need to talk about for this week. But anytime a planet comes into conjunction with the sun, there are things that come into focus, things that come to light, things that we need to start to see differently, things that we need to work with differently. There are levels of discovery. But the human effect is some of the discovery is going to be beneficial. And you'll have no idea where it even came from. It's like the sudden opportunity of something very nice coming through. Some of you might have already felt that because we've been building to these conjunctions for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, 2 weeks since before Christmas. But now we're getting tighter on something. Now we're seeing something differently. And this week showcases something coming into light. Now, the first one again is Venus. And I've kind of talked about this a little bit already on some of the prior episodes. And that is when it comes to the Venus stuff, some of it's going to be beauty. It's going to literally be like a physical change in certain people. You're going to see them do a different hairstyle. Look at mine. Like I literally did it today. Decided I wanted to wear my hair up. It's not a big thing, but like, I'm not saying look at me in that way. But other people they're literally going to be changing everything, doing a perm, doing their color change. They're going to do the cut. Some of us, whenever we've just gone through a bad breakup, what do? We chop it off and we start all over again because there's something about this that makes us feel like we are in our power. Physical aesthetic changes. Some people are going to want to up their war paint or makeup, war paint. They're going to want to up that. And whenever we have this first physical change, it is quickly recognized, quickly seen. And there's something about desire to this week as well. And why do I say that? Immediately after the Sun-Venus conjunction, we are going to have a conjunction between Venus and Mars, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, with the sun showcasing its light on top of it. You need to see this right now. You need to see this person. You need to see this desire. You need to see this drive, this determination. You need to see this and take action. You need to. And for some people, there will even be witnesses to that because when this is all going on, there's also an opposition to Jupiter. Venus, the sun, and Mars will all hit oppositions to Jupiter this week. So there's more than one player involved. Now, the day of the Sun-Mars conjunction, that will also be the day of the Venus-Jupiter opposition. The sun hitting its conjunction to Mars is our drive. Mars is our drive. It is our determination. It is what we want to take action towards. It is a different level of our focus. For other people, whenever I talk about Mars, you've heard me say this before, it's either pivotal disruption or chaotic disruption. Going back to the human effect, some of y'all are going to hit the chaotic disruption. Some of y'all are going to have little things that come through that as soon as they are discovered, as soon as they come to light, they create tension. They create a fight. They create anger. Sun conjunct Mars. This will be a discovery. This will, if you've had inklings toward it before, I'm not surprised. But for a lot of people, it's going to be something new. And the thing is, again, all of this is in opposition to Jupiter, the doctor, the guru, the teacher, the masses, things that impact our wealth, our prosperity, the way that we entertain certain things, the things that give us joy. Jupiter is a hopeful planet, an abundant planet, and Jupiter is in exaltation while Mars is in its exaltation. What does that mean, Dusty? It means they're in the tower on the top of the sky with every bit of control. It is the eye of Sauron. I'm not going to say that right. I don't know why. I just started picturing the eye from the Lord of the Rings, an all-powerful eye of being able to see everything. There's control. There's benefit. There's something that is meant to come through that where we feel very compelled. For some people, it's going to be pivotal, disruption, necessary. These are the steps that I take. This is the action. This is what I build next. This is where I go next. This is my focus. Yeah, let's go. The other side is going to be, who do you think you are to do this to me, to do this to us? What do you think you're doing? I don't freaking think so, because it's still in an opposition to Jupiter. And there's going to be some people that be like, no, you can't do that. They're going to do it anyways. I need you to know that. Even if in the immediate they don't do it, I'm telling you, they're going to do it anyways. They're going to figure out a way to do it, because there's something about the Sun-Mars conjunction happening in Saturn's sign, and that's the bigger part. One, Mars is in his exaltation, so he does really well in Capricorn, but it's happening in Saturn's sign weeks before Saturn completely belly flop submerges into the Olympic pool of fire known as Aries. Oh, it's coming. The disruption, whether pivotal or chaotic, I don't care, sets a long-term focus. This week, we have discovery. This week, things come to light. This week, things come into focus that wasn't in focus before. This week, there is news. There is discovery. There is debuts. There is revealing. For some people, we're going to reveal our emotions. For some, that will be pivotal. I didn't know you felt this way about me. That's amazing. I am not the romanticism reader. I want to be clear about that. I don't promise you sunshine and rainbows just to give you Skittles, but there's a Venus-Mars conjunction in here too, opposite Jupiter. And depending on which form of astrology you look at, Mars can be a husband marker just as much as Jupiter. So I'm telling you, there can be some romanticism in this week too. There can be some weird little things coming together that other people aren't necessarily happy about. You can learn that your ex moved on, has discovered somebody new, has decided to put their Facebook status as in a relationship, and you still ain't over it. That's a possibility. Things are going to come to light this week. Not everybody's going to be happy about it, but it's the truth. It is the truth. Now, just as much as we can have the mundane things in our daily life, we are going to see things in the collective. I said that in the month ahead, and what first thing I saw was the Venezuela thing. There are going to be things that impact the collective. Some of those are going to ignite intensity later on. I'm not saying it's not intense now. I'm saying it's going to get more intense. Just as much as there can be drive and determination, there can be other things that catch on. It really comes down to, again, that human effect of what you are going through as an individual. The way these transits lay out for me as an individual are very different than the way they lay out for you, your mother, your cousin, your best friend, your ex-boyfriend, your ex-girlfriend, your high school bully. It all hits. We're all living through it, but it's going to be different for everybody. So if you can, give grace when it's necessary. If you can, show support where support is due. If you can, watch things without casting judgment and give time for things to kind of play out. I hope you can. When judgment's involved, some of y'all turn really petty, especially since everything has come out over 2025. There have been lessons in petty all through December, I swear. Other parts of 2025, but really in December. There were a lot of lessons in petty. Okay. Expect new anything. I don't care how big or how small. New car, new way of doing things, a new position opens up in the at work that you didn't know was happening. Somebody left back in December because we were wrapping up a 9-year. Yeah, going back to the numerology. Now we're in a 1 year, in a 1 month, and we have our first 2 planets going through their enlighten, come into light, come into focus. I am going to be the debutante of this ball vibration. I will probably name this episode Debutante, by the way. I just like that. Coming into light, coming into focus, debuts, discovery. There are benefits. There is disruption. For some people, it will be pivotal, necessary. This is my determination. This is my drive. This is my desire. I didn't even know that I was desiring this, but now a little connection has been made. And holy crap, this is what I want. Are you sure you didn't think about this 2 weeks ago? Because I didn't know it was an option. But this is what I want. A lot of this is the most exact this week. This is the first wave of new in the exactness. I'm not saying human effect wise, you couldn't have already had something come through. I personally have already had 1 or 2 little ideas of things come through. Not anything I've acted on yet. Keyword there is yet. I haven't had the time. But in other ways, these new ideas, they will take weeks of work to put in the effort to put something forward. Some of this will be easy and gentle and fun. Some of this is going to take a lot of effort and work and determination. And so much of what starts to come to light from this week forward sets the stage for our new long-term, at minimum 2 years, for some people up to 10, different reasons for both, sets the stage for at minimum the next 2 years worth of focus. The next 2 years. Understand, pay attention. The littlest thing can be a minor detail of a much bigger picture. It can be a breadcrumb that can lead to a gingerbread house. It can be a glass slipper that takes you straight to the top of the debutante ball. Understand how important some of the vibration from this week forward really sets in. Okay. Let's get into the transits. Most of the transits this week are going to be like the outer planet transits. The lunar transits are actually very minute. So I want to be clear about one thing before I show the screen. And that is, just because something big does come into light, Venus-Sun conjunction, Venus-Mars conjunction, Sun opposite Jupiter, because that's coming this week too, Mars-Sun conjunction, any of these things, just because it comes to light doesn't mean that you like are off to the races in the sense of like, oh, look at this, run to the finish line. Some of what this comes to light with, we want to tinker with it first. We're going to tinker. We're going to play around with it. We need to understand it. And we need to learn it. We need to be responsible for it. And I wanted to put that as a precursor too, because it's going to take a long time to get to the end of the 2 years. So there's that. All right. Now I got this Monday on January 5th. I got this at 12:30 a.m. There is not a transit at this time. Only reason I am going ahead and starting it right here is I really want to showcase how close Mars, the Sun, and Venus are. Now, Monday, we don't even get the Sun-Venus conjunction exact. Are they on top of each other? Yes. Human effect. Can you have certain things come to light? Yes. Is it exact yet? No. but I want to show this. I want people to see it. I want people to understand that human effect is the entire week we can have something come to light. Do not be focused on one specific time. This is an arrival week. This is the debutante ball week. This is something coming through. There are discoveries. There are debuts. Be aware of that. Okay. The moon's going to be in Leo all day long. Of course, these two planets are coming into a conjunction with the sun. The sun rules Leo. And we're not actually going to have a transit on Monday until the evening time. So what's going to happen? I'll get this now to 9:30. Between 9 and 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, so my time, Chiron, remember, newly direct, only 3 days since his directness hit. This happened back in the morning of January 2nd. Chiron is now direct. Ooh, hitting stuff on my desk, sorry. Hitting a trine to the moon, fire to fire, passion to passion. But what else is going on? Chiron is in Mars' sign. The moon is in the sun sign. And what are Mars and the sun doing? They're hip to hip. They're this freaking close. I know some of y'all can't see me on the small screen, but like they're right on top of each other. Some of the solutions, Chiron, some of the wounds from the past, Chiron, some of the ideas of what we can do different can be kind of coming through by the late part of Monday. And a lot of the solutions are something that's meant to kind of boost confidence, because again, the moon is in Leo. The sun, confidence, our ego. Ego doesn't always have to be a bad thing. I know it's got a bad rap right now. The word does, but so does a bunch of other words that didn't used to have a bad rap. There can be something of a solution, of an idea of how we push forward on something, of how we fix something, how we heal a wound, that is a part of this vibration because there's Chiron. But this also can speak layers to additional things in that Sun-Mars conjunction. So again, human effect, there can be discoveries, but they come through like as solutions. I got this idea of how I can fix something. If we talk this through, maybe we can find a better way to do it. It's not heavy, but it speaks to the layers of the Sun-Mars that's building. And remember, Sun-Mars is, to me, arguably the most important of all the sun planetary conjunctions in the month of January. And we're not even in that yet. We're really close to Sun-Venus, though. That's really, really close, but it doesn't go exact on Monday. It's actually going to go exact on Tuesday. So let's keep this going. Let's get into the 6th, and now we're in Tuesday. Now we're going to deal with the moon in Leo all through the overnight hours until the morning time. But what we'll have first is going to be the lunar transit between 6 and 8 a.m. I got this now at 6:30. Uranus in Venus' sign in Taurus is hitting the square to the moon while we are perfecting the Sun-Venus conjunction. Expect the unexpected on Tuesday. Unexpected information, unexpected things with your technology, things that come through via technology. You get an email of something that leads to additional levels of discovery. You cut to the office first thing in the morning and you run into someone that you were not anticipating. You work here now? What are you doing here? Why are you in my office? Why are you in my space? Who invited you? Oh, this is what's going on. And there will be discovery for some people based off of this moon Uranus part of the energy. That discovery is either going to be exciting, Uranus, or it is going to be very unexpected. It is going to be jarring, Uranus. Considering Uranus is being hosted by Venus as this Sun-Venus conjunction is happening, and we have, again, the moon in the sun sign, oh yeah, we're going to have something unexpected. We're going to have some things that we are not anticipating. We are going to have some things that we were not planning for. For some people, it is going to be a little blindsiding. I'm sorry, but it is the kind of discovery. For other people, it's going to be super exciting. For other people, it is going to set a mood of where we need to start redirecting plans, of where we need to put some different energy. Please note how I'm saying this, and I want to keep this going. 10:57 a.m. Central Standard Time. So go from 10:30 to 11:30. The moon is going to go into Virgo. But as the moon goes into Virgo, before I actually show you my face, look at that. The Sun-Venus conjunction is exact. Oh, the moon is now in Virgo, right as that is perfecting to its exactness. It is beautiful. Some of the discovery we are going to be critical of Moon in Virgo. Some of the discovery is going to force some type of analysis, being very analytical, kind of an audit in some way. Some people are going to have something come to light, Sun conjunct Venus, that we immediately need to put forth the news to everyone. And it's like typing out the news, because Virgo is the tangible form of Mercury. So we need to sign off on something. We need to agree on something. We need to put the final details on some things. We're negotiating some final details, that type of thing. For other people, we are doing critical analysis of something based off of what has been discovered and based off of what has come to light. Here's the deal. The moon is going to be in Virgo for the next 2 days, starting from this point. It's not going to be a quick analysis. It's not going to be quick news. It's going to be something that we need to get over every detail all the way through, based off of the recent energy that has come to light, come into focus. Is going to get real. Okay, moving along. Let's get back into it. The moon is now in Virgo. And then after that, he's not doing anything for a while. Now, the moon is in Virgo the entire time, by the way. And some of us need to understand the layers of the mercurial aspect, since Mercury is also in Capricorn, and there's something very productive between Earth to Earth. We're not in a trine or anything yet, but there's still a lot of Earth grounded, productive energy going on. The moon is now in Virgo. Uranus is in Taurus, another Earth sign, and we got all this mess, this party mess, whatever, in Capricorn. Whatever is coming to light also has a level of productivity to it. It has something tangible to it. You can touch it. It is real. It is physical. It is not just news. If it's news, it's coming as a letter, like it's coming tangibly. It's coming over your computer. You can read it. You can revoice it. Like there's more to it than just one thing. For so many people, whatever is coming into light and coming into focus, it is physical, either in form that you can touch or in a person. It is real. For other people, if you're doing some type of physical change, Sun conjunct Venus, immediately everybody's going to have an opinion. The moon is now in Virgo. For some people, that's going to be a good thing. For other people, it's going to be, kind of questionable. Like it depends on how people's opinions are. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. Anyways. All day, the moon is in Virgo. Our minds are very, very busy, and we are trying to be productive. We do still have Sun Venus going on all day long. We're getting closer to Venus and Mars thing. That's not happening on Tuesday, just to be clear, but we are building to it. And there's a lot of building vibration all throughout the day. We are very busy with something that we're wanting to just kind of create an order towards, but other people can have a physical effect that can be their body. Now that feels more exact whenever we get into the 7th. So now we're into Wednesday. First things first, between 1 and 3 a.m., the moon is going to hit this trine to Mercury. What you can also see is the moon is getting really close to the south node. And this will go exact over the course of the overnight hours. For some people, and I said this in the month ahead, I'm bringing it up again here now, this can constitute a physical effect to your body. I didn't really say that in the intro of this one, but I was very, very heavy about this on the month ahead. And I do anticipate there are going to be a lot of people that they are having a physical effect going on. And it can manifest based off of Venus right here, the Sun Venus stuff in your lungs, through your taste buds, all through your mouth. You can have something like very respiratory going on. You can have anything going on with your kidney if we're having things like that. Be aware that there's more than one way that this can manifest. And I want to be clear, based off of this Virgo part of the transit between the 6th and the 7th, I do feel like for some people, it can have a bodily manifestation through this timeline. And I just want to be clear about that part too. Now, the moon's trying to Mercury, again, Earth to Earth. The moon is in Mercury sign. Mercury is in Capricorn. So it feels like we're trying to start something productive. We're putting a plan together of how to be productive of something, of the steps that we need to take. For some people, it's what we need to learn. For other people, it is what we need to plan out. And literally, the plan might have writing involved. It might have more knowledgeable stuff involved. Our minds are very, very busy. But there's also new things in focus because Sun Venus, new things in focus. And they're still very tight with each other. So I want to be clear about that. All right, Sun's trine to Mercury is between 1 and 3 a.m. The actual conjunction to the South Node is the most exact between 4:30 and 6:30. I got this now at 5:30. You can see they're right on top of each other. South Node 10 degrees 17. This is the body of the dragon that has been released, purged, removed, let go of. Some of us are going to be aware of something we need to let go of, just as much as we can be feeling something in our body. All I'm saying is if you're feeling it in your body, don't ignore it. Okay. Moon conjunct South Node. Other things can be a decision of something that we need to release, let go of, because again, discovery. We just had some kind of discovery. Doesn't always have to be the bodily thing. I just don't want to miss it. Oh, after the conjunction with the South Node, it's not that there's not anything going on. It's just we've got a buildup of transits. We can still be very busy getting through some information. We have this tight little triple show of the sun, Venus, and Mars. They're all on top of each other. Again, human effect discovery can happen at any point. Little things coming into play, new hidden desires coming through at any point. But whenever we get into the evening time, what I start to explain next is the most exact between 6 and 9 p.m. So I want to get this to 7:30 because I feel like it's right in the middle. And we're going to talk about all of it. What's going on here? One, the moon is going to hit its trine to the sun. You can see here's the moon, 17 degrees, 58 minutes. Here is the sun, 17:45. It is also entering its trine with Venus and Mars. You can see that right here. But over the course of this 3-hour span, the 6 to 9 p.m., we have the Venus-Mars conjunction. And I was kind of talking about this part in the intro. Some people are going to have relationship level discoveries. Divine masculine, divine feminine. And the thing about Mars right now, even though it's going into that conjunction with Sun and it's got a burning and it's not getting all of its energy, he's still in a place of exaltation. Show me something worth fighting for. Show me something worth living for. Show me something that I don't have anywhere else. There's a benefit in the discoveries this week. With Venus's conjunction to Mars, and the moon also being in a trine to all this, excuse me, there's more than one player. There's witnesses to it. There's an understanding to it. We're seeing people move differently. We're seeing people behave differently. We're seeing a desire kind of spark between people. We're seeing an idea spark in someone's mind. We're seeing something come into focus, come into light. It's an energy that is going to be very interesting with the human effect as to how it manifests for everybody. For other people, whenever the moon hits this trine between the sun, Venus, and Mars, if it is not discovering new desires, it is casting judgment or an understanding. For some people to be a judgment critical, it's critical understanding. So that can be judgment, or that could be like, again, I need to just understand. When the moon hits the trine between the sun, Venus, and Mars, all in this triple show, we can all have like a series of little things that kind of pile up. For other people, there's going to be things based off of the recent discovery, Sun conjunct Venus, that requires action. It requires a reaction. It requires a determination. For other people with the moon's trine here, the judgment is going to be real and be like, I don't even know why you'd be acting that way. I don't know why that anyone would want to act that way. And there can be judgment. And I'm just looking at the fact that the moon in Virgo can be very, very critical at certain times. It really kind of depends on that human effect as to whether this is a positive vibration or a negative vibration. But there are still discoveries, actions, and reactions. There are debuts all throughout this week. Okay. Oh, again, a lot of this vibration is going to be felt the most exact between 6 and 9 p.m. There's a lot going on. There's a busyness in the air. There's kind of a buzzing in the air. There's a lot of, again, drive, desire. And then as we get into the evening time, the next transit is going to be something that starts on January 7th, but continues into the 8th. What is that transit? That is where Jupiter hits its little sextile to the moon, giving forth some extra knowledge, educating something on someone, like giving them education of something, giving them some additional level of support, giving them wise words to understand. If you see somebody acting a certain way, then you need to take the right actions based off of XYZ 1, 2, 3. Jupiter's sextile to the moon, again, it starts on the 7th. It continues into the 8th. So this is something that continues into Thursday. And there's going to be a little bit more going on whenever it comes to the next few days based off of, what happened between Wednesday and Thursday. But our minds are kind of different as we continue through Thursday. Jupiter is sextile to the moon. We need a certain amount of education. We need to understand something. We need certain kinds of support. We need the kind of support that allows us to take the right analytical steps. I'm going with the analysis part of what Virgo represents. It's so we can write something into order. It's so we can negotiate something into a kind of order. This level of support is meant to be very, very helpful whenever Jupiter hits the sextile to the moon. Now, after the sextile to the moon, it's going to be chill all throughout those overnight hours until we get into the actual morning time. Between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m., so I'm getting this now to 11:30, the moon in Virgo still is going to hit this opposition to Saturn. And this is really interesting because of what is going on in Saturn's sign. For some people, we are going to look at the discoveries of what has happened this week already, and we are going to be asking someone to take some kind of role or responsibility. We are talking to them about their new role, their new responsibility, because whatever kind of came through in Capricorn could be like, oh, so you're the boss now? Oh, so you're buying this company now? Oh, so this is the action that you're taking. Oh, you've been taking care of somebody for a while. You've been in control of this for a while. Tell me what it's like for you so that way I know how to do it better. For some people, we need to have like this kind of analysis. We need to have the back and forth conversation to understand something. For other people, based off of the recent uncoverings coming into light, debuts of whatever's going on with Venus, Mars, and the sun right now. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about to the other side, either telling them about their role and their responsibility. We are understanding their role and responsibility. Some people, you are getting your new role and responsibility from another person moving forward. This is going to be the process. This is going to be the procedure. This is who you report to. This is what you will be doing. These are the steps you will be taking. Some people will be fine in this energy. Some people are going to be a little pissed off in this energy because if you don't take direction, well, that's a human effect. But the moon hitting this opposition to Saturn, we need the direction. We need something here. We understand something here. And again, this is something new for a lot of us. Moving along. Oh, after the moon hits that opposition to Saturn, it's going to start its trine from Uranus. That's going to be felt the most exact between 1 and 3 p.m. I got this now at 1:30. Here is Uranus 27:45. Here is the moon 27:34. It's going to be the most exact around 2 p.m., but I always like to give that 2-hour window of like when we can anticipate something. We still have, Venus's conjunction to Mars and Uranus. Mercury's not really doing anything here. So this unexpected or exciting kind of news can still be based off of the new things that have come through this week, but it might not be tied to everything with everyone else, but you might just be hearing about somebody else's stuff and be like, oh, so I got a job. That's amazing. Tell me about your job. It's hearing something that's worth being exciting. It's a little unexpected, but it's not super, super heavy. And there can be things that kind of leave space for questioning based off of how everything else is unfolding. So let's keep this going as to why I'm saying that. Between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, so it's now at 4:30, the moon is going to hit this opposition to Neptune. So we're right at the start of it right here. This final opposition to Neptune is going to be interesting because, again, Neptune is wrapping up its trip through Pisces. There's a belief that does not continue. There is a desire that does not continue. There is a lie that we are not going to accept anymore. There is a manifestation that is near completion. There is something that is kind of getting wrapped up because these two are hitting their opposition at 29 degrees. But considering we are truly in a space where we are wrapping up the rest of what Neptune and Pisces represents, we can be learning about something that we did not know was coming, but it is something coming to a close. And that would be the Neptune vibration based off of it wrapping up, being truly in a place where it's wrapping up its trip. By the end of January, we will be done with Neptune in Pisces for our lifetime. That's a big statement. a belief that is no longer continuing, a manifestation that is near done, some reality change of some sort. But there's an analyticalness and there's a productiveness there too, because the moon is in Virgo. Now, while the moon is in Virgo and its opposition to Neptune, it will also be making its trip into Libra at 6:06 p.m. The moon is going to enter Libra. The moon is going to enter Venus's sign. Venus just had a conjunction to the sun. Something came to light this week. Venus just had its conjunction to Mars. Something fueled a new desire this week. Some type of meet cute for certain people, some type of delivery of something that ignited a reaction of some sort. Something new has come through based off of Venus. The moon is now in Venus's sign, and over the course of the next 2 days, Venus will hit her opposition to Jupiter. There is something magnanimous for many people that is going to come through. There's going to be benefits for people as we go through the moon in Libra. And there is something about the fairness as to whether something is right or wrong when it comes to the actions of people in their positions of power. For people, this energy is going to right the scales. For some people, this energy is going to tip the scales. It is going to push something further in one direction or another. For some people, it is not going to serve you well. It is going to make you aware that something has been unbalanced for you, or it is going to help you right the balancing. For some of you, it's just going to push some kind of benefit into your favor. It really kind of depends on how all of this is laying out for you. But it's going to be a very busy energy as we continue through the moon going through Libra. So let's keep this going. Oh, the moon is now in Libra. It's still loosely in this opposition to Neptune. So just be aware that we could still have some of the cloudy vibration of Neptune's energy. As we continue through the evening time and the moon going through Libra, between 11 p.m. on the 8th and 1 a.m. on the 9th, the moon is going to go through its trine to Pluto. And it's actually the most exact right around midnight for me here in the Central's time zone. So for some people, whatever kind of comes through right here, this little bits of something that could be potentially triggering, that could potentially have fear, or it can have to do with the plumbing situation. I need to start saying the Pluto and the plumbing situation more often, because every time I do one little loose acknowledgement of that, then I get like 5 DMs going, "Are you kidding me?" It's like, yeah, I'm sorry. The plumbing situations with Pluto stuff is very, very real. It's stuff that goes on behind the scenes, below the surface, anything that should be hidden, but it's still having an impact on the open. That's a Plutonian thing. Now, we've had something come to light this week based off of the Sun-Venus conjunction. And if you notice, we're getting really close to Sun-Mars. They're right on top of each other, 1857. The Mars is 19:0. They're 3, quote, quote, astrological minutes away from each other. They're really close. And some of us need to understand Moon trine Pluto, a new power dynamic. For some people, that's going to be a hidden power dynamic that we were not privy to before. For other people, there could be something hidden about an abusive situation. That's a Pluto thing. For other people, there is going to be a discovery of certain people's actions, reactions, and the things that they have done. For other people, there will be a discovery of the actions we are about to take or we need to take to right some level of wrong based off of how the rest of the transits are going to continue. So let's continue. Let's get into the 9th. Again, the moon's trine to Pluto. It starts on the 8th. It continues into the 9th. We're getting closer to the sun, Mars. We still have Venus on top of all of this. All of this is still happening in this opposition to Jupiter. There's more than one party. There's more than one thing going on. There's more than one influence. For some people, this will be medical, doctor, guru, teacher. It'll have to do with some things tied to your health. Like I said before, for other people, it is going to have to do with your wealth, prosperity, abundance. There is something taking center stage. And for some people, that means with the moon's trine to Pluto, we need to overcome our fear, or we need we need to reveal something. And it can trigger insecurity in another person, even if it's not triggering insecurity in you. Just be aware, insecurity is a real thing anytime we have a Pluto transit. Let's continue. Oh, in the overnight hours between 4:33 and 6:33 a.m. Or 6:53, I'm sorry. That is whenever we go through the exactness of the sun's conjunction to Mars. This is going to be an action. This is going to be a reaction. Mars is the god of war, anything tied to fire, anything tied to forging. So, forging metal, anything tied to our desires. If it has the physical body, it can be your skin, it can be your head, it can be your blood. Just be aware of that. It can be your sexual organs. Your sun, Venus, and Mars are all together. So, it can be sexual organs, it can be sexual desires. Be aware of that. There is an internal gear shifting. There is a discovery. There is a debut. There are things coming to light that are either pivotal disruption, i.e., they can be something that we can build from, constructive, we can take it forward. Yeah. For other people, it is going to be chaotic disruption. The chaotic disruption means tension, fighting, frustration, this type of thing. Either way, expect new things. Okay. Making this as clear as mud. The reason I'm saying as clear as mud is because we know it's going to happen, but until like you can wipe the mud off and really see it, it is what it is. Okay. Oh, the sun's conjunction to Mars is felt the most exact in the morning time. As we continue into the later parts of the morning, almost lunchtime area, get this to 11:30. This is where we hit our exact opposition to Venus and Jupiter. So you can see this right here. Now, Venus is not in her best placement in Capricorn, but she's also not in her worst placement. Venus is hosting the moon, and the moon is hosting Jupiter. So please understand that there can be timely things that are coming into focus, that are coming in from the doctor, the guru, the teacher. Again, this can be something that tips the scales. It can be something that levels some things out. Some of you, it's going to tip it in your favor. Some of you, it's going to tip it away from you. Human effect is different for everybody, but we can feel the shift going on. And again, Jupiter is the doctor, the guru, the teacher. The moon is in an air sign, and Venus is in this physical earth sign. There can be news from the doctor, the guru, the teacher. There can be lessons, there can be outcome, there can be discoveries, especially if it's tied to your body based off blood work. This is why I was saying in the month ahead stuff like with the sun, Mars, like we can have things in blood work. It just happens to be the most exact on the 9th. It doesn't always have to be on the 9th. Human effect is it could have been anywhere throughout this week. There can be something that comes to light, that comes into focus, that requires a physical awareness and change, like physical changes. Like because something came up in your blood work, you have to change something in your diet. Because something came up in your blood work, there's got to be a whole different focus on treatment. Like this is the type of thing like, okay, we have to tip the scales based off of what's coming to light, based off the discovery. Some of you are going to realize just how far off the scales have been. Like, oh, something has not been right for a while. And now I know why. Now I know why I've been feeling this way. And again, pivotal disruption or chaotic disruption, depending on how this is all going to go. Oh, Venus opposite Jupiter. For some people, the sun Mars is something completely separate from Venus Jupiter, and Venus Jupiter is just talking to someone about their experience in a certain way of like, I need to understand what you have gone through in the way that you care for people. Jupiter is in Cancer. So there is, again, this element of care and needing layers and levels and depth of the understanding. Venus opposite Jupiter. All right, we're going to keep this going. There's one other transit to the day, and it's the most exact in the evening time. I just want to be clear. Sun conjunct Mars is all day. Venus opposite Jupiter is all day. Even though we've talked about like their exactness, the human effect is they can happen at any point throughout the day. When we get to the evening time, roughly around the 6:30, so the window is between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m., the moon in Libra hits a square to Mercury, which we are just about exact right here. Here's the moon 12 degrees 38. Here's Mercury 12 degrees 39. What are you going to do? Moon's squaring Mercury. We're going to question something. We need the details of something. We need to talk through something. We need to challenge something. We need to be aware of something. We need to express news to some people. Some of us, we're not going to like the news that needs to be expressed. We're not going to like the conversations that need to be had. For some people, you need direction. The moon in this higher authority being hosted by Venus, as Venus is in this opposition to Jupiter. You heard what the doctor said, you heard what your teacher said, you heard the directions that we were given. Now, this is the plan as to how we make it happen. Moon square Mercury. Again, this is the most exact between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. Some people, it is going to be that level of direction. Some people, it's going to be telling other people the actions that they must take. There's still level of direction, but it's communicating extra layers in the direction. Extra people are involved, this type of thing. There is planning, there is conversations, there is communication. We're going to keep this going. We're now going to get into the 10th. We're getting into Saturday. And Saturday is kind of interesting because we have these oppositions to Jupiter going on. Venus has just had her exact. You can see the sun right here getting close to its exact. That's actually going to happen roughly around 8 a.m. And I want to just kind of keep this. Oh, no, that's Mars. Okay, so the sun is actually first. So let's do that first. 2:30 in the morning. Here's the sun, 20 degrees, 5 minutes. Here's Jupiter, 20 degrees, 6. It actually goes the most exact between 2:32 and 2:54, but it's still very tight right here. We have something that needs to come into focus, something that needs to be spoken about, something that needs to be addressed, a shift in our confidence because the sun is in its detriment, based off of the wellness, based off of the prosperity, based off of the riches, based off the abundance, based off the doctor, the guru, the teacher. With Jupiter here, there are some additional lessons that must be understood as we continue this into the morning time. And this is where I feel like more people are going to feel this a lot more intensely. I feel like there's an intensity where a lot of people are focused and busy in a lot of different ways that goes the most specific, the morning of the 10th. First transit that's going to happen is Mars's opposition to Jupiter. That is actually the most exact at 8:09 between 8:39. This is fine. Mars is 20 degrees, 6 minutes. Here's Jupiter, 20 degrees, 4 minutes. Simultaneously, while this is going on, the moon is going to hit a square to Mars. The moon is going to hit a square to the sun. The moon is going to go through a square to Jupiter. But all of this is still loosely addressing Chiron. And I haven't brought this part up yet because I'm actually kind of saving Chiron more for the end. But we do get our first Chiron transit as we go into Sunday. So there's this grand cross energy of opposition upon opposition upon opposition, challenge upon challenge upon challenge, drive, determination, opposite support or with support. For some people, there is an element towards, again, a solution that needs to unfold. But considering the moon is going to hit its exact square with Jupiter, with Mars and the sun, all in the simultaneous window, this is the most exact between 8 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. This is a busy morning for a lot of people. This can be a challenging morning for a lot of people. And if you have cardinal placements, Libra, Capricorn, Aries, Cancer, especially in these areas of the sky, anywhere between 13, because Mercury is at 13, and 20, let's see, what was it? 25 degrees. We'll go with 25. Anywhere between 13 and 25 degrees, you're feeling this internally. If you have placements 15, between 13 and 25, saying it wrong, between 13 and 25 of Libra, Capricorn, Aries, and Cancer, you are feeling this vibration in some way. You are feeling this activity more intensely than some others. But no matter what, we're all living through it. So please understand that there's going to be some intensity for how people are feeling going through Saturday morning. Give grace. Just because something has been helpful, pivotal disruption for you doesn't mean that it hasn't been chaotic for someone else. And this feels like a lot of people are paying attention to something. So I do feel like this is a collective energy too, that we're all very, very focused on a recent disruption, on recent discoveries, just as much as we can be dealing with this in our daily mundane life. For some people, this will be blindsiding. For some people, this is going to, again, ignite some type of vibration, give us some type of determination, give us some type of drive. Mars opposite Jupiter can have a very big challenge. At least the moon is in Libra. If the moon was in Aries, this would be way more intense. The moon being in Libra, we're trying to be diplomatic about a lot of things, but there's still a lot of things that need to be said, communicated, put forth in a very specific way. For some of us, we're going to be aware of like how to balance the scales. Some of us, we're going to realize that their scales have been unbalanced. We're going to try to find efforts to rebalance them. For other people, you're seeing just how much you're being pushed down, and other people are being lifted up. And for some people, that is going to be frustrating. It is going to be infuriating. There will still be tension in this vibration. Moon square from Jupiter, moon squaring Mars, squaring the sun, Mars opposite Jupiter, sun opposite Jupiter. And Venus is building her square to Chiron. That's not going to be exact until Sunday, but it's still playing into this vibration. Okay. Oh, the tension, the potential of frustration, the potential of fighting, very, very real. Between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'm going to go put this at 1:30 because this is kind of going to encompass both. One, the moon is going to square Venus. The moon is in Venus's sign. So there's some type of acknowledgement. There's something beneficial, moon square Venus, some kind of direction in the extra levels of production, some type of production in the sense of how we are being productive. Simultaneously, it is going to activate the opposition to Chiron. There's something about the moon in Libra that activates the Chiron things that will start to take shape on Sunday, but more come into focus the beginning of the following week. The moon hitting this opposition to Chiron. For some of us, we need to take certain actions to put a solution into order. We need to fix something, even though we are not completely ready to be fixed yet. Like there's something here in regards to either impressing something new about a wound, creating a new wound, or again, finding the solution. I'm being more hopeful that this is more solution oriented, but we will see based off of how things continue to unfold between the 10th and roughly the 15th. So this will be a carryover part of the vibration that's getting activated on Saturday that will continue through Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'm making everybody aware of that. So, yay, moon opposite Chiron. Now, the thing about the moon's opposition to Chiron is afterwards, the moon is going to go void. Now, that doesn't mean that other things can't happen. That doesn't mean that we still can't have the human effect. It just means anything else that kind of happens through the rest of Saturday, it's a little lackluster. We can be stewing. We can be really overthinking a lot of things. We're going to get into the 11th. And again, the moon is void at 4:56 a.m., bumping this down to 5:30. The moon is going to go into Scorpio. The moon is going to go now into Mars's sign. The last time the sun and Mars hit a conjunction, it actually happened in Scorpio, and that was in November of 2023. And there can be things that go back to that last timeline that are now feeding into this. Now, depending on if you are Mars ruled and you understand that Mars vibration can make the difference as to whether you can understand the vibration or not. But now the moon in Scorpio, the moon's not necessarily happy in Scorpio, but Mars has just had something new come through. And for some people, the new that has come through, we don't want everybody to know the actions, the reactions that we wish to take. We don't want everyone to know how we feel about a certain thing. And what we start to see as we go through the moon in Scorpio is there's going to be hidden details, hidden vibrations, hidden reactions. And for some people, that could go well. For other people, we are going to be talking about things that have been hidden to others, but now still express some level of wound, trauma, or power struggle based off of how the rest of the day goes on Sunday. So let's keep going and let's take a look at this. There's two transits that actually occur once the moon goes into Scorpio, and they're roughly around the same time. So I'm going to bump this to 10:30, and this is going to encompass both of them. The moon is going to go through a square to Pluto. That is going to be felt the most exact between 10 a.m. and noon. That's why I put it here at 10:30. I don't know why I said noon first. 10 a.m. and noon. Simultaneously, Venus goes through her square to Chiron. There is a benefit in the aid, even if we can't fix everything ourselves, even if we can't find solutions to everything ourselves, even if we don't have the ability to do something, we can still see a dynamic of how to overcome a power struggle. Now, the thing about the moon hitting the square to Pluto is Pluto's getting into a new area of the sky that he hasn't been before. So we can have new fears finding their way to the surface, new fears that need to be kind of overcome, that need to be released, new triggers that we were not anticipating based off of how much has come to light this week. Some people hate change. You're terrified of it. Fixed signs. The moon's now in Scorpio. You're terrified of it. We know. I don't like change. I understand that. The change is necessary. And again, we're in the very beginning of taking steps into our new normal, our new reality. So expect new this week. The moon is hitting the square to Pluto. There can be triggers, there can be fear, there can be frustration, there can be things that we don't necessarily understand that are finally coming to light. And some of the light that comes through can also have to do with like understanding another person's wound, because simultaneously, while the moon is hitting the square to Pluto, Venus is hitting her square to Chiron. Now, here's the deal. Venus is the first of all these Capricorn transits that hits that square to Chiron. For some people, there will be elements towards a solution. For some people, there are understanding hidden wounds that we were never privy to before. Now, as we get to the end of the week, we start those Chiron transits. And this is going to be, again, something that starts roughly around the 10th and continues the most exact until roughly the 15th. I'm doing that part from memory. I'm pretty sure it's the 15th. The thing about these transits and hitting their squares to Chiron is one human effect way that you can see this is sometimes you see people that they have an injury that they can never heal on their own. But just because that injury happened doesn't mean they don't have the knowledge or experience to know how to do something. I don't know about you guys. Everyone has like their little thing that they like to watch. I've watched wrestling since I was a kid. I still like watching wrestling. Doesn't trigger emotions out of me, gets me, happy for some reason, takes me back to my inner child. So there's my thing. I've had this conversation with somebody recently. Like, I still watch wrestling to this day. I don't care. In all forms of wrestling, it's not just one form. Now, there are certain times where people experience an injury that they cannot come back from. They cannot get back in the ring. They cannot continue to perform. And those people then have to make certain choices. Do they completely separate from this business or direction that they love? Or do they find another way to make it work? And many of those people become trainers. They become coaches of some sort. I love the example of DDP. Even if you've never heard of wrestling, a lot of people have heard of DDP yoga. And this was a professional wrestler that started wrestling way later in life than what he should have. He was much older than most of the people that were in his starting class, because most wrestlers start in their teens and their 20s. This man was nearly 40 when he started. And after he had so much time in his wrestling career and he wanted to transition into something new, he started doing yoga. But he also put a different focus on it to make it easy for other men in their masculine energy to also want to do this. The reason I'm bringing up the masculine part is because Chiron is an Aries. There's an action involved. There's a reaction involved. The stellium of planets in Capricorn, there's a level of experience here. We need the experience. We need somebody that has certain levels of experience to teach us what we're doing wrong. What I love about some of the stories with DDP yoga is, one, he did things to help his own body to regain its strength so he could have mobility, but he's had multiple people that he has helped go from immobile stages, like literally in a wheelchair, on crutches, could not walk again, to walking, to living, to not being in a place that was wounded. Can they get back in the ring? No. But they've been able to do something else to where they can then go teach and help and coach. Sometimes the solutions that will come through based off of people's experiences that have put them into a place of wounding. I'm going with a wounded healer when I say Chiron. That's why I'm saying wounding. but they can help you find solutions because their wound gave them experience that cannot be traded. That wound taught them something. And there's a vibration that starts at the end of the week. It takes us into the next week that we can learn from mistakes. We can learn from the wounds. For some people, there will be an infliction of new wounds. I'm not a fan of that. But for other people, there is an understanding, there is a teaching, there is a rebalancing of wounds that in many ways, many of us didn't even know existed in some of the people that we care about. And their response to whatever you're changing in your life or whatever new is coming in your life is from their wound and the experience of that wound, and not so much whether they believe you can do something or not. Some people immediately say, you can't do that, because they weren't able to do it. Some of you are going to want to start to showcase and tell people and teach people something that you know how to do that other people don't. And depending on your action and your reaction, some people will get to the end of the week where you do start to push some kind of trigger in certain people. We start to understand a wound differently. For some people, that's going to have solutions to it. We're going to finally be able to overcome something. For other people, there's going to be infliction. Now, that starts at the end of the week. It is more so something into the next week. And I want to see how more of it plays out throughout this week to understand if we're going to see more of an infliction of a wound or discovery and elements of how we teach and overcome a wound. It's different for everybody, but it's all coming down to the discoveries, what debuts, what comes into focus, what comes to light this week, because it makes a very big difference as to whether we are going to be inflicting wounds potentially or helping people overcome their wounds or gaining experience from people that are ironically coming from a wounded place, but it's wounded experience, like I said before. Okay. Be ready for the debuts. Be ready for the discovery. Be ready for something new this week. For some people, this is a very big week because it sets a trajectory for what we will be doing for the next 2 years. Be aware of that. Keep your eyes open. And I don't care how big or how small the new thing is, stay aware that anything new can have layers that build from it. I don't care if it's just, I bought a new phone. Good for you, babe. Now, what are you going to do with it? All right. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Hit me up with questions or concerns. Subscribe.